Welcome back. You're watching CNN News 18 and our rolling coverage here continues as far as the rain situation, the inundation is considered in the national capital. We've seen that for the last 24 to 36 hours, it hasn't rained a drop in the national capital, and yet there are several areas in the city that are inundated. Several of them are without power. They're without water as well. Given the situation, the level of River Yamuna continues to rise. It is much beyond the danger mark now, and it has steadily only increased, also triggering a political fight with the Aam Aadmi Party and the Delhi government, blaming Haryana for the excess water that is being released from the Hatnikund barrage. But as far as the situation on ground is concerned, the Aam Aadmi is inconvenienced. Several thousand people have already been evacuated to safer ground. The rescue operations by the NDRF, the SDRF continue on a war footing. Yash, my colleague, joining us live from the Red Fort area. Yash, several areas in the national capital are still inundated. The water refuses to recede even though it hasn't rained yet.
Well, Poonam, absolutely, and the water current is absolutely increasing over here. You can see in these visuals, now this water is becoming aggressive over here. This is not standing water. This is the river water which has entered the city areas. In fact, this water is increasing perpetually with each passing moment. In fact, we've been reporting from this area since the morning. In fact, early in the morning when we came to this location at around 5 p.m., at around 5 a.m. or 6 a.m., there was no water, and in fact now you can see the water is almost knee deep, and in fact this water is not standing water. This water has pressure, so that's why we know that how the water is coming directly from the river to these low-lying areas. In fact, this is the back of Lal Killa area where the water is being inundated, and in fact till the point you can see, my camera person can show you, till that very point you can only see water only at the other side of the road, which is the flyover area, or the little bit there is an elevated road. There you can see there is no water, but largely this entire area remains inundated in water. And in fact, not only this area, the nearby areas from this very place, including the Yamuna Bazaar area, or in fact the Rainwell area from where we reported few minutes back, those all areas continues to be worse affected. But what we are understanding is that this entire lane, in fact, now is being underwater, and in fact the water at that place, we have been given to understand, is near about 5 to 6 feet almost at some points. So now the aftermath is actually also something to be considered also, because now civil authorities are on the ground. In fact, now they are actually preparing for the aftermath of these floods, because there are some indications from the authorities. In fact, the Chief Minister has also come out and said that now the water levels will start receding in some time from now. But what is happening is that since the three water treatment plants are shut in the national capital, there will be a water deficit of the fresh water or the drinking water, which is amounting to be 25%, which is a big headache for the administration. Not only that, but in fact essential goods services will also be hit in some parts. We saw how already vegetable prices were soaring in the national capital and across India, and with this situation, those situations could even go worse. Not only that, on the medical side as well, there could be certain outbreaks as well, because we know how water vector-borne diseases actually take place during this time only. And in fact, now the authorities have a very humongous task in front of them to actually control the situation first and then to deal with the aftermath, because the water level till now is very high. In fact, the current of the water is also increasing with each passing moment. So that has become a headache for the government over here in the national capital. I'll also show you on the other side how the traffic has been stopped by the officials here, and in fact mostly the vehicles you see are the labelled vehicles which are actually allowed to get to this very spot. But there are many traffic diversions which have been made, and in fact we've been reporting since morning that to reach certain places you have in fact 4 to 5 routes, and in fact once if some routes are being closed by the authorities, then the pressure lies on couple of routes in the national capital. And because of that what happens is because of that, what happens is those areas become very congested, and because of that congestion, we are seeing a lot of traffic jams in the national capital. But as of now, police has also issued multiple advisories to deal with these situation. And in fact, early in the morning, when we came to the ground, there was barely any presence of traffic officials. There were NDRF officials present on the ground. There were civil defense officials, but there were no traffic officials. But now, at every check-in point, at every post which the Delhi police has made, now you can find police officials standing at each place. And in fact, now what they are doing is they are actually trying to control the traffic. And in fact, a sort of a warning has also been given by the authorities. And in fact, an advisory sort of thing has also been said to the people to not to venture out if till it's completely necessary. So now this is the situation which is panning out here in the national capital, where low-lying areas are almost completely submerged under water. And in fact, now this area is completely flooded. We can say that Delhi is witnessing floods after almost 45 years.
Yes.
Back to you.
Yes, we've seen this kind of water level rising of Yamuna after 45 years, which is why we're seeing this kind of flooding, this kind of inundation across different parts of the city here in the national capital. And several posh areas, VVIP areas, so to say, of the national capital are also inundated, isn't it, Yash? Not very far away from the Chief Minister's residence is also something, is what we witnessed, where the roads were completely inundated.
Well, absolutely, Poonam. In the morning, we actually went to the nearby areas, the Bela Road areas, or the famous Swami Narayan temple, which is actually quite close to Chief Minister's residence in civil lines. And in fact, now the water has receded to the levels the water is approximately 100 to 150 meters away from Chief Minister's residence. But interestingly, the terrain where the Chief Minister's residence is actually placed is a little bit higher. So we expect that the water will not reach at that point if the water starts subsiding in some time, or if the water remains constant. But it's a shocker. It's an absolutely shocker and failure of the civic authorities as well, because they know these situations were being made, and in fact these situations were cooking for quite some time now, and this has not happened. These are not these are not flash floods which has happened in the national capital. The water levels were increasing slowly and steadily, and in fact now we are seeing these sorts of flooding in the national capital. Well, also we need to understand when these sorts of situation arises, two main things to understand is that first, the water gets into the low-lying areas. That is ought to happen because it's just adjacent to the river. And the second is the drainage system. In fact, now as we know that Delhi is completely built on concrete, and that is the reason there is no way for the water to go. And in fact, the drainage system has become a big question mark the drainage system of the national capital has become a big question mark, because we have to also understand every time there were monsoons in the maximum city, Mumbai, there were questions on the drainage system there. But now with this sort of rains, and in fact this sort of rains in the upper catchment regions, now we are witnessing similar situation here in the national capital, and a lot of questions will be asked to all the civic authorities, be it the MCD, NDMC, PWD, and all the authorities working in the national capital, as to what were you doing from so many years. And in fact, you talked about Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal's residence, but earlier also we visited some areas in the Lutein zone, and in fact from Mathura Road we got you a report where in fact the minister in question, Atishi's residence, was also flooded with water, and that was because of the rain water, and this is the flood water which we are showing you. So now the government has also need to answer a lot of questions, and in fact both the state government and the central government will be in the eye of the storm as to why this has happened to the national capital, and why this situation has arisen, to when the people of Delhi are forced to actually walk on their feet, and in fact not only
life
on their
has
feet,
been
but in fact
thrown
they're
out
forced.
of gear for many people. Hundreds of people have been evacuated to safer ground. They've had to leave their belongings behind. They have had to leave their homes in a matter of a few minutes, a few hours, to ensure that their safety is paramount. That's the situation that we are seeing over the last 1 or 2 days in the national capital. Do stay